Hello viewers, new and old, I'm Rodders and this is On The Bridle, specifically our racing news review of the 2026 Cheltenham Festival. I'm going to be going through all 28 races and giving my opinion on every race, as well as highlighting the selections that I made before the Cheltenham Festival. So stick around folks, because I may need your opinion at the end of the episode. Without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to kick this special episode of the racing news off with the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Now, I can tell you viewers, I was standing there thinking, the roar won't be that big. It was massive when this race kicked off. Old Park Star was the winner of this race. I was wrong about him. I thought he was a heavy ground horse with a little bit of an iffy form profile coming into the race. I'm glad though that he showed me he had a different side to his game, and he's definitely got grit when it matters because he had to fight here. Sober Glory was not going down without a fight. Typically, he never goes down without a fight, and My Daddy Paddy was causing all sorts of chaos in between them. One thing I can guarantee though, this won't be the last time these three meet on a racecourse. In the previous episode of the racing news, I said that Lalamba's jumping would let him down in the Arkle, and it very much proved to be the case. This fact was also exasperated by the fact that he's not a pure 2-miler. He's a 2.5 miler to 3 mile horse trying to keep up with 2 milers, and it was never really going to work out well. Moving on to Kopek de Board, he travelled like the wrath of God through this race, and at all points before the last fence, everyone thought that all that Paul needed to do was give him a squeeze and he'd rocket off. Unfortunately, you're about to see what happens when you get overconfident sometimes. Coming to this fence, he kind of pitches after it and loses all momentum. When you lose momentum like that at a fence and you don't have a recent run, you have literally nothing left in reserve to try and catch Cargies. All respect to Cargies because she executed her game plan perfectly.
Under Dally Mullins for Willie Mullins for Ken Alexander. Carges has won the Arkle from Kopek de Board in second.
Formerly with Aidan O'Brien, Saratoga proved to be the best in Fred Winter. This horse once ran in the long distance cup at Ascot at the end of the flat season against the likes of Trawlerman and Sweet William. Now saying that after the event it looks so obvious, but his hurdles form before this race wasn't exactly pulling up trees, but credit where credit is due, he fairly pulverised these.
Clico, Saratoga comes there going strongly. BB Moose is next in fourth, then Mustang de Broy and Quinta de Largo. Winston Jr.'s now staying on as they begin to head towards the final flight of hurdles, and Clico ridden in front. The other grey to the outside, Saratoga now looking to make his effort at the last. Saratoga now picked it up from Clico. Winston Jr.'s out after them in third. Then Quinta de Largo is back in fourth. They're racing up the hill now, and it's Saratoga by a couple of lengths under Mark Walsh to Winston Jr. now in second. Clico back in third and heading for the finish. It's Saratoga to win the Fred Winter. Saratoga's beaten Winston Jr. Clico in
Johnny Who was very much the wise guy's horse. There were whispers, there were mutterings, and by the time the race come around, they were full-on shouts. I very much liked Johnny Who as a younger horse in novice hurdles, but as soon as he went over fences, his form started to regress and he went off of my radar. I'm glad to say, and I'm glad to see, that he has come back with a major success in his career, because he does deserve at least one.
And blazed away. Here comes Search for Glory on the outside in maroon and white under James Smith. Then came Johnny Who, who's now latched onto the principles, followed then by Jaguar, who's come from a good way back. Two from the end. Quebecois will land in front from Highland. Search for Glory and the battling Johnny Who, followed then by Jaguar and Blow Your Wad. Here's the final fence. Quebecois landed in front. Search for Glory makes a terrible mistake and he's unseated rider. Johnny Who is now chasing Quebecois. Jaguar is storming home on the outside, so too Blow Your Wad. It's Johnny Who has hit the front from in second, Quebecois, and as they hit the line it's going to be Johnny Who to win the Ultima.
If the saga with Lossiemouth and the Champion Hurdle was a cliffhanger, I would have turned it off years ago, because it has been a bugbear to everyone before the Cheltenham Festival. Now, I know that Willie Mullins has to make sensible decisions, but the Willie Mullins bingo before the Cheltenham Festival is starting to annoy people in a very big way. Eventually, folks, you got what you wanted. Lossiemouth in the Champion Hurdle. Although it has to be said, this Champion Hurdle was one of the weakest Champion Hurdles I have ever seen. It reminded me of Epatant's Champion Hurdle, and that was extremely bad in terms of quality as well. You had Brighter Days is ahead who hates the racetrack. You had the New Lion, who is not a 2-miler. You had Alexi, who's a handicapper. And you had Golden Ace, who has just been extremely fortunate to win races because her main competitors have fallen over.
On the near side, but it's Lossiemouth up the Cheltenham Hill once again from brighter days ahead. And the New Lion, the crowd roar home. One of the greats in recent festivals. 4 consecutive wins, and this time it's the champion hurdle.
The Dan Skelton Yard certainly know how to plot one up, and Madara is one that they've been plotting up for a fair while. They admitted it as much after the race. Dan Skelton after the race said Madara had pounds in hand and he couldn't wait to get him to this race because he was a horse who would definitely put Dan Skelton on the scoreboard for the Cheltenham Festival.
And Western Zephyr, the first two. Western Zephyr engaging Will the Wise. Madara is in 3rd position. Then McClory. Booster Bob is getting closer on the outside of Down Mexico way as McClory comes under pressure. Madara comes going well to challenge Will the Wise as they straighten for the second last. Steering problems seemingly on Western Zephyr over the second last. Madara led there to Will the Wise in second, and Madara is in command here, coming to the last, thrown at it by Harry Skelton and soars over 3 clear. Booster Bob fell at the final obstacle. Madara in front by about 4 lengths here to Will the Wise, and then Moonderange down Mexico way and McClory, but Madara making no mistake here and romps away with the Sun Racing plate. Will the Wise second, Moonderange in 3rd.
It has to be said that Holloway Queen's win in the National Hunt Chase was a bit of a left field result. She'd been a bit in and out of form all season, but this showed a very different side to her. And one does have to wonder whether a Grand National tilt could be on the cards, viewers. Let us know what you think in the comment section below.
From Iceberg Theory in 4th, King of Answers next, then First Confession as they run for the home turn here, and Holloway Queen has taken over here clearly, and she's gone up by about 3 to Pickrock in second, then One Big Bang, Iceberg Theory and King of Answers. Holloway Queen at the second last, she's over, she's clear. Pickrock was untidy in second. King of Answers is finishing very well. She'll have to keep galloping Holloway Queen, but she jumped the last very nicely. She's got 6 lengths on. King of Answers in second, try to storm up the hill after the leader. Holloway Queen still has a 5-length lead here, driven out by James Bowen. King of Answers isn't closing, and Holloway Queen is going to take the National Hunt Challenge Cup. Another winner on the day for Nicky Henderson. James Bowen on board the mare. Holloway Queen beats King of Answers.
The Turner's Novices Hurdle made the headlines for all the wrong reasons, notably Nico de Boinville and Declan Queally having their ding-dong argument at the start of the race itself. Now, here's my 2 cents on the argument. I do not like people who get to a certain position in life and think they can bully someone else just because they've got a name that people recognise. That is not how sport works. What was even worse was the forced apology in front of the camera. Did you see Nico's face? He looked like he was a naughty boy who had been told to shake hands with Declan Queally, not one that was willing to. Pushing all that aside, it was a good performance from King Rasco Gray, and this could be a horse who could go on to be a Stayers Hurdle candidate next season.
Gray on the far side, Active Innocence, those were the first 2. A bad mistake back in 3rd by Bossman Jack, staying on his shuttle diplomacy over on the far side, and I'll sort that is also trying to rally. It is King Rasco Gray who has got the lead inside the final half furlong for Paul Townend. King Rasco Gray is going clear, racing up towards the line. King Rasco Gray takes the Turners, a 40th Cheltenham Festival winner.
What attributes do you need to win a Brown Advisory Novices Chase, I hear you ask? You need to be tough, gritty, determined, and jump like an absolute stag. And Kitzbühel did every one of those things. I did think coming to the second last that Final Demand was going to go by him. Every time Final Demand tried to make another move or have another go at Kitzbühel, Kitzbühel just pulled out more and more and more and broke Final Demand's heart. It was a very good run indeed.
Just 2 more fences to take in the Brown Advisory Novices Chase, and Kitzbühel and Harry Cobden still have the lead off the final turn. Kitzbühel by a length and a half to Cocktail de Vin in second. Final Demand is trying to stay on towards the inside, jump that fence in third. Wendigo is next, then Salva is rallying from a long way back down the wide outside. The final fence, Kitzbühel over with a slender lead to Final Demand on the inside. outside. Wendigo has fallen at the final fence. There's a furlong to go on the fat, and it is Kitsbull who's got the lead. Final Demand is on the far side. Back in third is Salva. There's another 50 yards to go. Kitsbull gamely sticking his grey head out in front, and Kitsbull has won the Brown Advisory.
This was one of the quirkiest results of the Cheltenham Festival because Jinko Blue made all of the running, which is an unusual thing in this year's festival because not many horses have managed to do that. But he set his own fractions. James Bowen gave him a breather at the top of the hill, right the way down to the bottom, and when he kicked again, the writing was all too evidently on the wall.
Coach. Those are the first three, followed by Ballyadam round the outside of Sunny Bill. Then Imbirico Lord, followed by Stormheart and Katira as they make their turn in. Still a quarter mile to go. One more flight of hurdles to take, and Jinko Blue and James Bowen still have the lead over Franciscan Rock, and over on the far side 40 Coats as they take the last. Jinko Blue by 2 lengths. Down at that flight was HMS Seahorse. Now they're on the run in, just over a furlong to go. Jinko Blue is driven clear by 3 lengths to Franciscan Rock in second. Ballyadam is back in third, and then Stormheart racing up towards the line. It will be Jinko Blue who makes every single yard of the running to win the BetMGM Cup. Jinko Blue wins. Franciscan Rock in...
I have my own opinions about the cross-country chase being a handicap and not a conditions race, and I have voiced them in a previous episode of the Racing News, so I won't continue with that. I will, however, highlight a few good performances in this race. I did think that Stumptown was anchored by the 12 stone that he got. I did like Late Night Pass's run. Favori du Champ shows that he is a real force in cross-country races, and Final Orders was a very good winner indeed.
Only a length between them. Late Night Pass over in third, Fakir Boudari, and then Stumptown, and off at the run in the cross-country, and Final Orders and Connor Stonewalsh are out in front now by 4 lengths to in second place Favori du Champ are racing up towards the line. A spectacular round of jumping in the cross-country chase for Final Orders, who wins. In second, Favori du Champ. In the end, it will be Vanillier up for third, Stumptown in fourth, Late Night.
In the Anti-Post Focus special for the Cheltenham Festival, I put up 2 horses you should avoid at the Cheltenham Festival. They were the New Lion and Masborough. Masborough jumped as if he had sinks attached to his hooves. He jumped deplorably. I counted 4 times he hit fences. You can't do that in championship races, and I don't know what Willie Mullins is going to do with him now because he must be ripping his hair out. This at the last from Il Ete Tump almost gave me a heart attack. That was very close to him coming down, but he found a 5th leg, as they say in Ireland, and overall he did jump extremely well, and this was a good victory.
Being a key point in this year's BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase, Il Ete Tump leads home Liberty Hunter at a massive price. Then in third place was Loda Sue, Captain Guinness, Calixios.
This was the first of a few shocks at the Cheltenham Festival, Martyr. Now for 9/10 of this race, I thought that Jazzy Matty was on his way to picking up 3 Cheltenham Festival wins in successive years, but it wasn't to be. Venetia Williams' stable has been in horrific form this season, having had just 4 winners in a little over a month. For a stable like hers, that is an astoundingly bad return compared to the strike rate that she's been operating at in the past 2 seasons.
Break My Soul in the black and orange, Release the Beast in the pocket, trying to thread through up the inner, 2 out, Jasco de Dam move through to lead, in the pocket is a faller, Hampered Special Caddo, here's the last in the Grand Annual, Jazzy Matty jumping on from Jasco de Dam, Western Diego a faller, Ballysax Hank is hampered, Martyr Tour in the dark blue and white is flashing home, Break My Soul on the outer, 3 of them diving for the line, Martyr Tour, Jazzy Matty, heads up, heads down in the Grand Annual, very close, wouldn't like to split the 2, Break My Soul is close.
On the episode of the Anti-Post Focus for the Champion Bumper, I said the Morn Rambler had as much chance of winning the Champion Bumper as a fish swimming backwards. Well, I can admit when I was wrong, and I dropped an absolute clanger here, viewers. Unlike other racing channels on YouTube where they try and go around the houses to explain why they were right, even though they were wrong, I will just come out with it and say that I was wrong. So here you are, viewers, I was wrong. You can't get 100% of things right all of the time, and even this happens to the best of us. This horse looked to have no chance on form, and suddenly he's improved massively from his debut. There were a few other performances that I liked in this race. Metz Tassientra, who ran on into second here, has good form in France. Her Conqueror won an Arab Grade 1 race the other day, so the form of this is not rubbish at all, and this bumper could turn out to be quite a good one.
But it's the Morn Rambler out in front under Colin Keane, the multiple Irish champion flat jockey. The Morn Rambler wins the Weatherby's champion bumper. Close for the placings.
The second of the shocks came here in the form of White Noise. She'd been struggling to beat the likes of Kingston Queen at Warwick in heavy ground, and suddenly, somehow she's turned up here and completely seen them all off. When results happen like this, folks, I just tend to let the result pass on by, because her form before this race made no sense to man nor beast. Because the grey mare here with the orange sleeves is Kingston Queen, the horse that she couldn't get by last time at Warwick, and suddenly she comes out and manages to absolutely thump her. What do you do with that kind of form, folks?
Led over the last. White Noise chased by Place de la Nation. Old School Outlaw coming after White Noise as they head towards the final 100 yards here. White Noise in front. Old School Outlaw is chasing hard. Then Place de la Nation and Charm de Faust. But White Noise is going to take the opener for Matt Nichols and Kim Bailey. Second home was Old School Outlaw in third. Place de la Nation. And fourth home.
Before the Cheltenham Festival, they were nicknaming this horse Meet Me by the Certainty in certain circles, as I highlighted in the last episode of the Anti-Post Focus. And I'm glad to say that those certain circles were extremely on the money. They were so right, it was unbelievable. This horse last ran in the Game Spirit behind Lou Lambert. Obviously, he was never going to win that race at all, but switching him down into handicap company, it never looked like he was going to lose rounding the home bend.
Hit the second last pretty hard. Gold Dancer not going away. Regent Stroll with more to do in third, and it's Meet Me by the Sea and Gold Dancer. The 17th and final fence. Meet Me by the Sea much better. Gold Dancer not away from it as quickly. Regent Stroll is back in third, then King Alexander. Meet Me by the Sea and Ben Jones coming away from Gold Dancer. 100 yards left to go, and for Ben Pauling and Ben Jones, Meet Me by the Sea clears away to win the Jack Richards. Gold Dancer second, Regent Stroll in third, King Alexander fourth, then Kiss Will Slay.
Wood, who technically has 9 wins from 11 starts over hurdles, but she was promoted on her first ever run over hurdles when Nürburgring and her had a bumping and boring match. Now, I do actually like Wadu because she's guaranteed to put in maximum effort in every race, no matter what, and you cannot ask for any more than that from a racehorse. This was her first Grade 1 in her career, and I don't think it will be the last, to be honest. She is a very good race mare indeed.
To Jay de Grugy, who is eroding the deficit now. What Who, though, close to the rail. Jay de Grugy chasing hard. What Who, game as a pebble, head down, determined, all business. What Who wins the Close Brothers mares. To Jay de Grugy.
Home by Lily pulled off a mighty upset in the Stayers Hurdle. No one could have seen this coming. He's 11 years old. He beat Staffordshire Knot the time before. Staffordshire Knot is not a fantastic horse, and this was really a bolt from the blue. Cabral de Mathan does not stay 3 miles. It was proven within the last furlong and a half. His petrol gauge started to empty quite rapidly, and he went backwards in no uncertain terms. Tahipu is probably past his best now. He's probably one to be forgotten about. Ballyburn, though, might have been the unluckiest runner in this race.
It's in third position. It's Home by the Lee and JJ Slevin, the horse running in the race for the 5th year in a row. And this time, Home by the Lee is the hero of the Paddy Power Stayers. Ballyburn.
Picture this scenario, viewers. You've backed Factor File at the start of the season for the Ryanair chase. You're convinced he'll go here. He wins the Irish Gold Cup, and suddenly you're left sitting on the edge of your seat right the way up to the Cheltenham Festival. Then you see their declarations, and then he's declared for the Ryanair chase, and you think, I've got that one in the bag. And when it gets to the day of the race, he gets taken out and you lose your money. How gutting is that for the punter? Now, Willie Mullins made the excuse that it was the ground, but I don't think it was the ground at all. I think it was JP McManus wanting John Bond to get a win at the Cheltenham Festival at the expense of anti-post punters. If this is true, it's quite a mean-spirited ploy by JP McManus, and I thought he was a better man than that. Without Factor File, Hartwood really had little opposition to beat, and it was just a walk in the park for him at the end of the day.
O'Keefe and Hartwood, who are clear now by 6 lengths to jump on in second, but racing up towards the line. Last year's runner-up, one better this year. It is Hartwood who takes the Ryanair. Second yet again at the festival is John.
Supremely West was the horse that was on everyone's lips this year heading into the Cheltenham Festival. His work at home had been remarkably good, and I highlighted this on the final episode of the Anti-Post Focus. Now, what usually happens with these handicap good things is that everyone talks about them weeks and weeks and weeks before the festival. We get to the day and they finish second, third or fourth or out the back of the TV. But gladly, this time it didn't plan out like that. And he left plenty of punters smiling, beaming smiles after this race. The only question that I have, viewers, is were you one of those people with a big beaming smile after this race? Put your answer in the comments section below.
West is out in front by just over a length. Letos over on the far side. Idem with a chance. And then also staying on the far side is Ikarak. There's a half furlong to go. Supremely West and Harry Skelton has got the lead and now extends the advantage. Supremely West is simply supreme in the attempt. Supremely West has landed the gambles. Back in second, La Vida.
The Kim Muir went to Ask Brewster. Now, it was no real shock, to be honest, because he had won 3 of his 4 races before this run. But 22-1 was a slight overreaction to his last run, because I feel that he didn't really handle the Sandown track. Some horses just don't. Some horses love it. Some horses are a bit indifferent to it. This was a very good ride, getting the better of Patrick Mullins. And one thing is for sure, you have to give a horse a very good ride if Patrick Mullins is on your case, because Patrick will not give up until the finishing line.
As they rise at 2 out, Ask Brewster by about a length. He's out in front now to Road to Home in second, still staying on the near side, the Enabler. Back in fourth, Monbeg Genius, and they're now clear of in fifth, Sandor Cleggan over the final fence. Ask Brewster got in tight, but he jumps it just as well as Road to Home, his nearest pursuer. Now they've got a furlong to go on the flat. Road to Home putting in a power back finish over on the far side. On the near side is Ask Brewster. It's between these two. There's just a head bob between them as they race up towards a line. Ask Brewster on the near side. Ask Brewster to Road to Home. Monbeg Genius, and then staying on came Kim.
The Triumph Hurdle went to Apollon de Charnay, who finished behind Proactive at Auteuil. So the form book was completely turned on its head here. For me, I thought Manella Study was going to win this race approaching 2 out, but he just curled up going up the hill. Another horse who did impress me was Maestro Conti, because I didn't think he had the class for this race, but he proved me entirely wrong, and he'll be a nice one going forward next year. All in all, I think this Triumph Hurdle was a nice race. I wouldn't say it was the strongest race in the world. 1 or 2 of these will undoubtedly get better next year, and they could pick up a nice little handicap somewhere along the lines.
Joined by Apollon de Charnay and Maestro Conti. Selma Davari is still running on. It's Manella Study in front, halfway up the run-in. Apollon de Charnay, though, he's wearing him down, edging ahead. Maestro Conti is rallying. Lord Byron is flying home from the rear of the field as well. Apollon de Charnay in front, doing best under Patrick Mullins. Apollon de Charnay wins the Triumph Hurdle. Tight for second between Maestro Conti and Manella Study. Close.
The County Hurdle went to Willful, trained by John O'Neill. I remember this horse way back when struggling to win a maiden hurdle. He's now won a good prize at the Cheltenham Festival. How fortunes can change for one horse. I'm glad he won a race like this, because you can never begrudge a horse for having one big race win on his CV. The only question is, viewers, did you back him? Put it in the comments section below.
Light blue, Carbo right around the field, with a builder on the inner, into the straight. Ubetti clinging on grimly to a slender advantage, but now Willful is moving up threateningly. Cracking Rhapsody is ridden along. Carbo is back in midfield trying to squeeze through against the fence as Undawi bursts through with the grey Stick to the Plan. Willful leads at the last in the County Hurdle. Stick to the Plan is out after him. Sean Bowen full bore, but Willful has first run on the field, galloping on powerfully up the Cheltenham Hill. Stick to the Plan, sticking to the task. Sinatra flying late, doing it his way, but the bird has flown and it's Willful, who's not for catching, wins the county hurdle. Stick to the plan is second. Joyeuse getting up for third.
Of all the horses at the Cheltenham Festival, I actually wanted Dino Blue to win the most. She's a 9-year-old mare now, and she'll probably go off into the breeding sheds sooner rather than later. But before she went, I wanted her to win this race purely for her. I think she's been a fantastic mare over the years. She won last year at the Cheltenham Festival as well. She's finished second in this race previously. She is a fantastic jumper as well, as you see right there. You may not be the classiest horse in the world. She has taken on some real superstars in the past, and she's got the bitter end of that. But all in all, there's not one of us out there that wouldn't take a Dino Blue in training if we had the opportunity.
And she comes up Spring Hill. She lands 4 lengths ahead, only by Night giving dogged chase up the run-in. Dino Blue now being asked to stretch. She's responding. Only by Night is keeping her honest, but it's going to be back-to-back wins at the Cheltenham Festival for Dino Blue. She wins again. Only by Night is second and Panic Attack third. Spindleberry back in fourth.
One of the major fancies for the Cheltenham Festival was Dr. Steinberg, but he pulled way too hard in the first part of the race, and I don't think he would have got 3 miles anyway. Paul Townend pulled him up before the second last and saved him for another day, which was quite a sensible option. Johnny's Jewelry came through with a massive run at the end of the race, and by the winning line, he was more than a few lengths clear. The rain in this race really did start to fall throughout though, and I think that caused a fair few horses to pull up in this race.
Towards the near side rail from a long way back, Johnny's Jury is another one who is picking up. A quarter of a mile to go, one more flight of hurdles to take. The Passing Wife will just have the lead. The Passing Wife had the lead on the far side. Fruit de Mer is now in second. Mondui Boy is in third. In fourth is Johnny's Jury and then Bunny Garrow. They've still got a half furlong to go. The Passing Wife with Fruit de Mer over on the far side. Johnny's Jury with a power pack finish, racing up towards the line. Johnny's Jury wins. Tight second between Fruit de Mer, the Passing Wife, and back in fourth.
The Cheltenham Festival this year was screaming out for a standout performance, and Gaelic Warrior more than gave it to us. This horse has been an enigma within an enigma. Sometimes he's not that good, sometimes he's fantastic, sometimes he's out of this world. You never really know quite what you're going to get with Gaelic Warrior, and that's why I've always joked that in the past Willie Mullins has had a horse psychiatrist on staff, because Gaelic Warrior in the past has looked like he stuck 2 pencils up his nose and put a pair of underpants over his ears. But I'm always one to give credit to any horse who puts in a brilliant display, and I think this was Gaelic Warrior's most emphatic win of his career. He really did put it to them about 2 out, and from there on in there was only one winner. The Jukebox Man, I wouldn't trust him at 3 mile 2 again. I don't think he stays. As for Grey Dawning, he's just not in his class. Django Bay was the one horse I took out of this race. He's still young, he's still improving, he's still learning, and I think next year you'll see an even better horse.
In the Boodles Gold Cup, and he's clear by 6 lengths over Django Bay in second, and racing inside the final furlong, it is Gaelic Warrior who is powering up to Cheltenham Hill. It's clear now by 8 lengths up towards the line. The Gold Cup goes to Gaelic Warrior. In second will be Django Bay. In third, I know the way you're thinking. Grey Dawning was in fourth, and L'Empresse rallied for fifth.
Barton Snow was a horse that we highlighted on a previous episode of the Racing News. We showcased him in that episode running in a Ludlow Hunter Chase, and I said I was extremely impressed with the amount of speed he showed at the end of the race, even though he pulled through that race. He did exactly the same here. He outgunned It's on the Line going between 2 out and 1 out. He made a mistake, and even though he made that mistake, there was never a point after the last fence where I thought he was going to get beat because of the amount of speed he showed at Ludlow. There is one thing I'd like to add to this though. The owners of this horse were not allowed in the parade ring because the security, even though they'd seen them walk out of the parade ring before this race, said they just couldn't come in. That is outrageous. How do you justify that, Cheltenham? Honestly.
Sun is in fourth as they rise at the 22nd and final fence, going right through the fence, Barton Snow, but it didn't check his momentum. On the outside, it's on the line. There's 3 lengths back to Music Drive, but it is now Barton Snow who's taken the lead for Henry Crow and beginning to go clear, racing up towards the line. It is Barton Snow trying to hold on. Barton Snow in the Hunters. Second, yet again, a heartbreaking defeat for It's On The Line. Back in...
After Cheltenham jiggled the schedule around, the Martin Pipe is now the last race of the Cheltenham Festival, and Air of Entitlement showed a good attitude at the end of this race. She's a mare that I've always liked, but her career just seemed to run into a dead end after last year's Cheltenham Festival victory, and it's good to see her on the score sheet again at Prestbury Park.
Towards the wide outside now is Calder Tourelle, who is picking up, and so too with the big white blaze is Interlotto. It's wide open with a quarter of a mile to go in the Martin Pipe, but it is Hot Fuss and Joe Anderson who have taken the lead. Air of Entitlement now goes toe to toe. Active Authority is one who's picking up well from the back of the field over the final flight. Hot Fuss was the leader, down with Stanley 4. They've now got a furlong to go on the flat. It's Hot Fuss who has got the lead over Air of Entitlement in second. Back in third, Calisttoire, and in fourth place is Active Authority. Now they've got another half furlong to go. It is Air of Entitlement who has got the lead and begins to power clear. It is Air of Entitlement who wins the Martin Pipe. Hot Fuss may have just held second. Jump Allen flew up the hill.
That is a wrap on the 2026 Cheltenham Festival. Now folks, I need your opinion. On the last episode of the Anti-Post Focus, I put up my selections pre-Cheltenham Festival, and I need you to tell me how you think I did. Also, we'd like to ask your opinion on the Anti-Post Focus show itself. Did you like the show? Could it be improved in any way, do you think? Put it all in the comment section below. Adding to that, if you'd like to give us your best result at the Cheltenham Festival or your worst result, also put it in the comment section below. I just have to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you who has clicked the like and subscribe buttons. You do help this channel move forwards enormously. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to click those like and subscribe buttons below if you like the content. Also, if you'd like to join the channel and become a member to this channel, you can also do that by clicking the join button below. Past that, all that's left to say is I hope you had a fantastic Cheltenham Festival. It had thrills, it had spills, it had shocks, it had it all, and I was there for the entirety of the 4 days. I can tell you it was tiring, but I can also tell you it was worth it. We will be back on the 4th of April for a tiny Aintree preview. All that's left to say is that I'm Rodders, this is On The Bridle. Until next time, stay safe.